All right, guys, equipment vlog number 4 coming at you. Let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about what we got on the agenda today, and we'll get out to the range and we'll get the freak after it. So first thing on the agenda, we are testing a Cobra AeroJet LS driver, 9 degrees with a Mitsubishi Kylie Blue 70X shaft. So this is a really special driver. And one that I'm looking very forward to testing. So it is the Volition America version of the AeroJet LS. And you're probably wondering, what is that? What does that mean? Well, Volition America is a company who partners with other brands to create really cool limited edition products. And then what they do is when they sell those products, they take a percentage of the profits and they donate them back to families of fallen soldiers through scholarships. So they partnered with Cobra Golf to create a couple limited edition drivers, and a limited edition putter. They also do some really cool apparel through Puma, but that's beside the point. They sent over an AeroJet LS driver just for me to have, and I was able to make some really cool content with it over on TikTok and Instagram if you want to check that out. But nonetheless, this has been a driver that I have been, quite frankly, a really big fan of. Never did a review on it because we don't really have a relationship with Cobra, so they never sent us one to try or review or post about. But nonetheless, it's gotten rave reviews. I've hit it before. I really enjoyed it. And, you know, just so happens that I was able to get one through a different source, not necessarily through Cobra, and we'll be testing it today. And before we even do test it, the cause is amazing. What Volition America is doing is, quite frankly, awesome. Donating back to families of the fallen, I think that's fantastic. But aside from that, the driver itself is so cool. I mean, it is awesome. Like, there's no other way to put it. In my opinion, I think it looks cooler than the normal AeroJet. I don't really love the gloss carbon crown on the normal AeroJet. I really like matte finishes. This one has sort of a matte navy blue finish. It's incredible. It looks awesome. Red, white, and blue color scheme. I mean, it's just fantastic. So I love the design, I love the cause, and, you know, we're gonna get out there and just go ahead and see how it performs. So that should be exciting. That's the first thing. Second thing on the agenda, Taylormade has released new spider putters. Well, they'll be releasing new spider putters next week. I'm filming this a few days prior to the release, so you guys will see that on Tuesday of next week. But yeah, they're dropping a new spider putter line, and really the idea behind it is to sort of take the legacy shapes of spiders or the classic designs of spiders and sort of revamp them into a little bit more of a refined design, a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit classier design. I would say something that holds up to the test of time a little bit better. And I might ruffle a few feathers by saying this, but the Taylormade Spider is a Hall of Fame design. You know, it's up there with, you know, your Odyssey 2-ball, your Answer, your Bullseye. It has become a loved design throughout the years, and I think it's one where you sort of have to understand where Taylormade's coming from when they do a release like this. I think a lot of people get mad because they're like, you know, a $350 Spider is ridiculous, and yeah, quite frankly, it is a little high price-wise, but with that being said, it's no different than Odyssey releasing, you know, the White Hot OG series, you know, where they're taking a classic design, like the 2-ball, and they're just releasing sort of a revamped, sort of refined version of it. And that's really what they're doing for these models. So we have 5 different models in this lineup. We have the Spider Tour S, Spider Tour X, Spider Tour Z, and Spider Tour V, if I'm not mistaken. So 5 new models. And once again, the 2 new models are going to be the V and the Z. Those are new. The S, the normal Spider Tour, and the X are obviously going to be models that have already been, you know, out in years past. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Kind of what I said is really the idea here was to take the legacy shapes of spiders and create something that's a little bit more refined, not so out there looking. I know there's been a few colorways and releases with spiders that have been a little bit crazy, I would say. Maybe not super classy, maybe not something that everyone would game, but these are just pretty much as classy as you can make a spider, I would say. Just probably as clean as you can make a spider. So exciting. I'm excited to get it out and mess with it. Is it going to be vastly different than any spider that's come out? No, and that's not the point of it. It's really just to create something that is a little bit cleaner but still retains the design characteristics and the feel, sound, look, etc. of spiders of years past. Is pretty much the way I would put it, if you will. Now, they're also going to do a My Spider version of this Spider Tour series, or I guess this Spider series, and you're going to be able to select from 2 different face inserts, which is really cool. So you're going to have one that's a little bit softer and a little bit firmer. I think that's fantastic. That said, I do think for the price range that these are in, $350, they might have messed up a little bit by not offering some more face options. I know we saw with Scotty Scheffler's custom spider prototype that he had a milled face. I think that something Taylormade could really do that would be absolutely fantastic is offer some different face options. Definitely offer the insert, that's a very popular thing, but maybe also offer a smooth face, a light mill, and a deep mill. I get it, it's maybe not the easiest from a manufacturing perspective to be able to do that, but for the price of $350, I do think people would really appreciate some options like that, and it would be nice to see. So I think they've done a really good job in terms of the design. It's very classy looking, but I do think that over the next few years, I would really like to see them offer some different face options. I think that that's one thing any putter company can do that is just uber relatively simple. It doesn't really add much in terms of design aspect, but it's something that the consumer really appreciates. So, but yeah, that's what we have on the agenda today. We're gonna test it, kind of let you guys know my thoughts, and we'll go from there. Last 2 things on the agenda today, we are testing 2 new iron shafts. We have the Nippon Modus Tour 125S in a 4-iron, and let's talk about why we have that and why it's in a 4-iron. Now, if you guys have watched the last few videos, you'll understand and know why. When I tend to go softer with shafts, especially in long irons, really especially in 4-irons, I will tend to catch them a little bit higher on the face, and the golf ball will come out knuckly. So when I'm testing softer shafts, I really enjoy testing them in 4-irons and 5-irons, and I would just say longer irons, generally speaking, because I'll know right away if it's knuckling in a 4-iron, it's probably not going to work in the rest of the set. Now, again, in the last video, I talked about how I really like to test 4-7 pitching wedge, and I do, but I think once we've narrowed it down to just a couple shafts, we can test them in 4-7 pitching wedge and then kind of make a decision. But when you're just messing with different things, I think you got to know and have an idea what the shaft might do, how it might perform, and for me, the tendencies I see with softer shafts, and when we're talking about this shaft, it's the 125S, so the stiff version, a little bit softer, a little bit longer tip section. Theoretically speaking, if anything, I should catch it a little bit higher in the face, so that is why I wanted to test it specifically in a 4-iron. Now, the reason we're testing the S as opposed to the X, we are testing the X, just not today, is because to me the X does feel a little bit boardy, and so I wanted to see if the S was just a little bit smoother feeling throughout. After that on the agenda, we are testing the True Temper Dynamic Gold X100 130 gram soft stepped once. So we are trying a 6-iron shaft in a 7-iron. And again, this is one of those things that kind of came about because I had a set of holes that was an inch short. And because I play my clubs a half-inch short, I ended up just saying, screw it, why don't we just go ahead and try this 6-iron shaft in a 7-iron and see how it goes. So that's what we got on the agenda today. In terms of the iron shafts, we did end up eliminating one iron shaft in between when the last video was filmed and this video is being filmed, and that is going to be the Dynamic Gold Tour Issue X100 120 gram model. Now, I really wanted to like it. I I really thought that the lighter weight would be fantastic, and quite frankly, I love the lighter weight. I think it's a little bit easier to swing. It's a little bit better in a 4-iron in terms of weight. Don't have to overswing it, which is pretty much the same thing I just said. But the issue with it is kind of the issue I tend to see with a lot of stuff that I would define as too soft for my specific swing, especially in the butt section of the shaft. The tip section of the shaft actually stiffens up pretty hard and is decently close to a 130 gram X100. But as you get into the butt section, it kind of falls off. And so for me, when I pull on it in transition, I have a relatively aggressive move in transition. I tend to pull on the handle really hard. What happens is, once again, and the tendency with a lot of these softer shafts, is the club gets behind me a little bit. I bottom out a little bit early, and I catch the golf ball a little bit higher on the face. And so for me, you know, it's just, it's not ideal. And really the big thing was I just noticed some knuckleballs out of the 4-iron, and I kind of knew it just wasn't going to quite work for me and what I'm trying to do. You know, if you want to play at a really high level, you have to have a lot of control, and the last thing I want is to have shots come out knuckly, low spin, you know, and not very high either, because what ends up happening is, you know, when the golf ball comes out with not enough spin, especially in a 4-iron, it'll launch in a decent window in terms of angle, but it'll never reach the peak height you need because it doesn't have enough spin on it to reach that peak height. So that's kind of the issue I found with the DG120. I would pull on it, it would get behind me, I would catch it high on the face, and you know, had a little bit of a tendency to overdraw. To me, it was, you know, we tested the Modus 115 a couple videos ago. To me, it was a slight improvement over the Modus 115. And when you look at it on an EI graph, you kind of understand why it's a little bit stiffer than that. But it's in the same realm in terms of kind of how it is a little bit softer than the, you know, the OG Dynamic Gold. And so, long story short, it just didn't quite work for me. And so that one has been eliminated from playoff contention, if you will. And yeah, we're down to 4 shafts. We're down to the Dynamic Gold X100 130 gram, Modus 125X, Modus 125X soft stepped, and then the Modus 125S. I guess 5 if you count the X100 soft stepped. But yeah, really 3 shafts and then 2 different variations of those shafts. So we're getting closer. All you could ask for, moving in the right direction. But yeah, that's pretty much what we got on the agenda today. I'm excited. Heading out to the golf course, we'll be here shortly. And yeah, we'll get to testing. Let's go. All right, guys, so we've made it to the range, and I think the way we're gonna go through today is we're gonna start at the 7-iron, move up into the Modus 125S 4-iron, hit the driver, and then go putt. And we'll try to make it, you know, as quickly as possible, as quick as possible, if you will. So 7-iron's the same head we've been using, Cobra King MB. And then the shaft's going to be a True Temper Dynamic Gold X100, 130 gram, soft stepped once. Here we go. Like that. Tight draw. Contact was pretty healed, I'm not going to lie. That's a better one. Still heel. Let me just double check this. Make sure that we're all set up here. I think we're dialed. It's always tough. You know, the last thing we want to do is like film this whole thing and then find out the angle's all wrong or something whack. But I think we should be good. Kind of hard with this sun, I'm not gonna lie. but I mess with this. You know, the theory behind the soft stepping is you can sort of, on those off-speed shots, you can hit them with a little bit less speed and not be so worried about how stiff it is. So like, for example, if I'm going to try to hit this maybe like 140, you know, I can hit that shot pretty easily. And I don't have to be so aggressive in transition, but you're still retaining the profile of something that is, you know, more butt stiff and tip stiff, as opposed to like a DG120, for example. So that's sort of the theory behind soft stepping. The other theory is that it was just sitting in my garage. So, I mean, you know. But in terms of feel, seems pretty good. Flight's good. I mean, it does feel a hair soft. I can't even lie. But it's not bad. That's why I'm curious about the 125X soft step, because to me that's a little boardy, but we might get a little bit more feel out of it soft stepped. Who knows? I mean, I like this. It feels like it stays with you, but it's not too much shaft. You can do a lot with it in terms of like flighting it and hitting the off-speed shots. You know, again, I'll try to hit more of an off-speed one, maybe. And I feel like I can do that pretty easily. But if I want to go after one, it still holds up. You know, say I wanted to swing this maybe close to 100%. Still holds up. It's not turning too much. You know, it doesn't feel like when I pull on the handle, it's getting behind me at all. So that's a big W. I like this. I could see this working, actually. So this is probably going to be one of those things where you got to test the other stuff first, but you kind of keep this in the back of your mind. If, say, like the standard X1 I don't love, like straight in, you know, you got to figure out like what you don't like about it, and then see if this could sort of pick up on those things that you don't particularly love. Try to hit a cut here. Beautiful. Lost my balance, but beautiful little cut. In terms of centerness of contact, starting to move toward the center now. A couple Healy ones to start. Go low cut here. Beautiful, beautiful little low cut. And we'll go the other way now. Now these are the ones where if it's too soft, usually you'll bottom out a little early, and that's going to be the high draw. So we'll go, you know, for me, Tiger said it best. I mean, if you want to hit a high draw, the easiest thing to do, you set up normal, move it a hair up, maybe a ball up, and then you just finish hands above your head. And there it is. Nice high, tight draw. I like this a lot. I think this probably is going to move into my top 5 for sure. I would say this is probably top 3 right now. But really good start nonetheless. I'm pretty happy with that. So I feel like we're making progress, getting a little closer. Now we've got this 125S in the 4-iron, and this should be quick, because we'll know if it starts knuckling, that's too soft right away, like I talked about earlier. Ooh, that's interesting. I wouldn't call that knuckly, but it was definitely a little low. Huh. This is interesting. Very interesting. Centerness of contact is there. Feels just maybe a hair soft. Oh man, that was really good. This is where it gets tough, because I want to like this, but it also feels like, again, there's just a little bit of give when you're pulling on the handle. There's just a little bit of not so much tightness in the handle. We'll go for a cut. Stock cut. But like that one felt tight right there. That didn't feel loose. Now, the real test here is going to be high draw. This is the hardest shot, I think, to hit with a 4-iron. Well, it doesn't help when you hit it off the frickin' shaft, that's for sure. We'll try another one. Spain. That was good right there. This could definitely be an option. I think where it's going to come down to with this is, since I really like that soft-stepped X1, the move is going to be to, I think, put a soft-stepped X1 in here, see how it goes, and then once again, you kind of see what you like, see what you don't, and go from there. What I like about the X1 is you can pull harder on the handle, but because it's soft-stepped, you get a little bit more kick in the tip section. So I like this. I don't think I like it as much as the soft-stepped X1. So really the move is just going to be to put one in here and see how it goes. But definitely could be an option. I really do think we're down to 3 options. I think we're down to an X1 and a Modus 125X. And then I think this could be, this is probably in the 3rd spot. The X1's probably going to be in the 1 and 2, interchangeable with the Modus. Really depends how the soft-stepped Modus 125X goes. But so far, pretty good. I mean, definitely an improvement over the orange, the 115, the DG 120. These are definitely, to me, more in the realm of what I'm looking for. So we're making progress. Onto the driver. This is the one that I am pretty excited about. Now I'll put some video up in terms of how this thing looks, but it is absolutely phenomenal. It really is. It is probably, I mean, honestly, I would argue it's probably the coolest looking driver of the year. It's fantastic. And really just trying to get a feel for the head. And then, you know, we'll see how the shaft goes. Mitsubishi Kylie Blue 70X. Wow. That feels really good. That was centered. Hit a couple more with this. But it could be an option. You know, I think we're sorted down to, I mean, you know, I'm going to say 3 drivers, but that's probably not the case. I really want to like the TSR3. The only issue I'm finding with it is if I want all my misses to go right, I feel like with the TSR3, it has that occasional sort of leftward miss, which I don't love. What I like about like Stealth 2 Plus, AeroJet LS, and like, you know, Paradigm Triple Diamond is because the CG is a little bit further forward, they tend to want to miss more right, if anything, I would say. Which for me is just a little bit better of a miss if I'm going to hit a push cart. You know, I always think that you're always trying to take out one side of the golf course. You know, if you're going to hit a push cut off the tee, you're trying to take left out. And vice versa. If you're going to draw it, you're trying to take right out. So you can always aim confidently and make a good swing and not have to worry about it going in, you know, the opposite direction that it's supposed to go in, if you will. So let's keep going with this. I mean, the flight's fantastic. Just a tight cut. Centerness of contact, very good. The shaft, I don't know. it feels a little soft in the tip section. I think I asked for this to be tipped an inch. I don't know if it is tipped an inch or not. I'll have to check the tip to graphics measurement. But in terms of feel, it feels like it's coming off the face, not necessarily like with the hotness of like a TSR3, but it feels like it's coming off with less spin. Almost like feels like when it's coming off the face, it's almost coming off like if you hit a driver high on the face. You ever get that feeling where it's just kind of coming off with no spin? That's how this thing feels out of the center, if that makes sense. Which I think is a good feeling, because again, if we're gonna hit a push cut, we don't really need tons of spin on it. We just want it to go. That is so good. I really like this thing. The shaft, I don't know if I'm in love with it. I really like the UB. I think that's, in terms of shaft, we're down to a few different things in the driver, but it's probably UB. MB Plus is still an option, but the more I mess with it, the more I'm kind of feeling like the tip is just a little bit too soft. So we can tip that, but again, when you tip something, it doesn't change the entirety of the profile. It makes the tip, you know, a little bit stiffer, but it doesn't do a ton in terms of stiffening up the shaft. It really doesn't. It maybe just tightens it up a hair. So the MB Plus I'm a little indifferent about. I think in terms of shaft, this maybe would be better in the TX Flex. I don't remember the exact torque numbers, but I'm almost 100% sure this 70X is somewhere around 3.4 and the TX is somewhere around maybe 2.7. So it does have a decent amount of less torque in the TX Flex of the blue. So maybe that would be a better option. But in terms of contact, I mean, I can show a video. This thing's pretty freaking centered, I'm not gonna lie. And I feel bad because I'm like hitting the American flag on the face. But I don't know. They put it on the middle of the face. So where else are you supposed to hit it? That was mad toe, but it didn't gear left. I mean, I really like this thing. I really do. I think this is probably in the top 2 most underrated drivers of the year, along with the STX and STZ models from Mizuno, for sure. People just sleep on Cobra. I don't know why. I really don't know why they sleep on Cobra. This thing is fantastic. Now, in terms of ball speed numbers and stuff, I don't have my quad out here right now, but we can do a video on it if you guys are interested. Drop a comment. We'll get a video done. But it feels hot, and it looks like they're going far. And I think in terms of shaft, I really would love to put a UB in here. I think that would be the best place to start in terms of really figuring out if this driver is going to work uber well. Because it seems to work pretty freaking well right now. I mean, that is just, I don't know what else you could want. It's like the last video, like the mini driver video, like it's like a 10-yard cut every single time. So, AeroJet LS, Volition America Edition, looks sick, performance is there. You know, I don't know what much else you could ask for. I'm a fan of it. I really am. Let's take the Spider out, head over to the putting green, and we'll kind of talk you guys through that. What are my thoughts on it? Let's go. All right, so now we're out here with the brand new Taylormade Spider Tour. Very exciting. So, and you kind of heard me talk a little bit about it in the car, and there are a couple key changes, I would say, in these new Spider models. First and foremost, we have 5 models. So we're going to have Spider Tour, Spider Tour X, Spider Tour S, Spider Tour V, and Spider Tour Z. So they have progressive CG placements, meaning like the center of gravity in, I believe the S is the furthest back, and then as you get into the V, it's the furthest forward, if I'm not mistaken. So You know, it's supposed to change toe hang a little bit. Really, I think it's just going to change how they feel. Obviously, the more that CG is closer to the face, it's going to feel a little bit firmer. Like, look at Scotty Scheffler's, for example, with the prototype. They had a lot of that weight pushed forward, so it would feel a little bit more like a blade. And, yeah, that's really a big thing in these models is progressive CG in the different models, right? And then the other big thing that I didn't mention earlier is that every single model has the true path alignment on the putter head. So, you know, this, I'll put a video up, but this white alignment is on every single head. And, you know, what Taylormade claims is that it really helps people with aim. That's what I've heard from a lot of people. A lot of people really do feel like it helps. So I don't think that was a bad addition whatsoever. I would say I think it was a nice addition. But in terms of how they look very good. I would say probably the classiest looking Spider Tour that they've done. It just in terms of finish, if I'm not mistaken, it's a PVD finish. I could be wrong about that, but it's supposed to hold up better. I know that's been a big complaint with Spider Tours, is that they haven't really held up very well in terms of the paint department. These should hold up a little bit better. In terms of shaft, KBS, I believe it's the CT Tour putter, 120 gram, and then as far as grip, Super Stroke Pistol 1.0. The grip looks really cool, I'll be honest. I think this is probably one of the best Super Stroke Taylormade collaboration grips that they've done. Little spider on the top, all white and black. Looks really, really clean. I think in terms of looks, it's a very classy looking Spider. You know, they've added the, I guess, the technology elements really of the true path alignment, and then they've pretty much just left the overall shapes alone. They're just your classic Spider shapes. So give it, we'll give it a roll here, kind of see how it goes. Decent start. I mean, in terms of feel, another thing that they've done to these is, I believe if you were to pull this bottom piece out, there's some sort of like insert here, maybe some sort of like TPU insert that's supposed to help with the feel. In terms of feel on those putts, it really doesn't feel much different than any other Spider I've rolled in the past. We'll go to this long hole here and then we'll come back. A thing that I do really like that they've done in these new models is they went back to the actual double bend shaft. In the Tour X, they did like a single bend, one shaft offset to get the face balance, for the face balance models, I guess to get the actual face balanceness, and I absolutely hated that. I thought the single bend was terrible. Me personally, there's a lot of people who loved it. But me personally, I hated it. I really did. So I'm glad that they went back to the double bend. In these models, you're going to have a double bend option, and then you're also going to have a short slant neck. So, you know, a couple different options. Obviously, a little bit more toe hang with the slant neck, face balance with the double bend. But in terms of feel, I mean, it's really not much different than any other Spider I've rolled in the past. I can't say I'm not going to like sit here and say it's way better. And like I mentioned earlier in the car, I do think this is a very premium feeling putter. I think it's a very premium feeling Spider. $350 is really steep. To me, this should really live probably right around $279.99. And even that is pretty steep for a Spider. Again, great putter. It's a Hall of Fame putter. It's a Hall of Fame shape, but it's not like the highest quality in terms of craftsmanship that you're going to see on the market. And so I don't know if it really demands that sort of price tag. The way I think they could really make it live up to that price tag is if they offered those different faces that I mentioned earlier. You know, if they offered, say, a milled face, a smooth face, and then maybe a deep mill face. But in terms of like just inserts, I don't know, seems a little bit high to me in terms of price. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's a Spider. There's really not much like to it. I know that, you know, the big things really, there's a couple technological things that they've done, but it's it's pretty much just a Spider. I can't like sit here and say it's really much different. I think it's going to be a solid seller because Spiders just tend to sell well in general. Like they're just probably one of the best selling putters at retail, and now you have a little bit of a classier version. I think that overall it's going to be a solid release. And you know, the one I'm really excited about is actually the Spider Tour. I believe it's the Z model. I really think that one looks good, and I'm somebody who plays with the double bend putter. I've been using the Pink PLD DS72 for like the last probably year and a half, and I've absolutely loved it. So to see the double bend back in that head shape is really exciting. I really hope to get my hands on that one. Well. Spider Tour Z and Tour V arrived at my house yesterday, actually after the last part of the video was filmed, so we're back. We're gonna roll these mofos, kind of let you know how we get on with them. Let's get it. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but really the big thing in the new Tour models is going to be that progressive CG. So the Tour V is going to have the most forward CG, and then the Z, I believe, is second, followed by X, Tour, and then S, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously the biggest thing is MOI. The putter with the highest MOI is going to be the Spider Tour S, has the CG furthest back. Another small thing that I did mention is that it does mess with toe hang a little bit. And then the last thing is feel, rotation. Obviously, the more forward it's going to be a little bit more blade feeling, if you will. But, you know, the one I was really excited about is this Tour Z. I really like the alignment on it. It's still got the true path, but it's maybe a little bit narrower, if that makes sense. Like, to me, it just is a little bit cleaner looking, sort of. Yeah, I really like this one. Unfortunately, I only have one frickin' ball because I lost all of them on the golf course yesterday. But yeah, I do like this. And me personally, I much prefer to have the CG a little bit further forward. And in my opinion, this feels better than the Spider Tour model I was messing with yesterday. Like, you can tell that there's a little bit more of a firm feel off the putter face, at least in my opinion. It just feels a little bit more like that, and it's just better to me. It's just a little bit more of my preference. So I really like this Tour Z. As I mentioned, I like the double bend. I'm very happy to see that it's back, but I mess with this one, man. I really mess with this one, and that's kind of what I thought. You know, sometimes I'm funny with stuff. Like, I kind of have a feeling I know what I'm going to like, and we'll putt with that Tour V a little bit, but I do really like this one. It just, I don't know if you can hear it, probably not on camera, but it's just like a little, it's like a hair clickier. Like, it's a hair more blade-like. It just is. But we'll go with, this one should have the furthest forward CG, but like, I wouldn't use a slant neck personally, so this, like, this style is not going to work for me. But yeah, I mean, I said it a bunch. I mean, yeah, that is very much more blade-like than the Tour yesterday. I mean, you can just feel how much weight is close to the face. But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned yesterday, it's pretty simple. These are really just, to me, a more premium feeling Spider. Cleaner looking, more premium looking, very solid. I think what's going to be really cool is the counterbalance ones. Really try to compete with Odyssey there and the Jailbird. We'll see counterbalance in the Tour S in 35 and 38 inch models in the spring of 2024, and then we will see Spider Tour have a counterbalance model. I believe it's going to be available right now, but only in 38 inch. So unfortunately for the short kings out there, like your boy, we are going to have to wait till spring of next year. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm a fan of the release. I am a fan of the release. I think some very solid things here. I like the progressive CG because it's going to give people different options in terms of finding like a head shape they want, because now we have, gonna have 5 different head shapes. And then in addition, you might find one that feels, kind of a little bit closer to maybe something that you're currently using or something that, you're looking for in terms of feel. But overall, I think I like the Tour Z the most. To me, this almost feels like too blade-like, if you will, like there's too much weight forward. That one feels like the weight's forward, a little bit firmer, but it's still, I feel like I'm getting Mallet vibes from it, if that makes sense. But nonetheless, yeah, pretty solid, pretty happy. All right, guys, so little summary of how the day went yesterday. Obviously, I'm in a different outfit because it is a new day, but nonetheless, I wanted to kind of go over everything and just kind of talk you guys through my thoughts. I'll try to make it as brief as possible. We'll start with the iron shafts. First and foremost, Dynamic Gold Tour Issue X100, 130 gram soft stepped once. Really like this shaft. I never really minded the original Dynamic Gold X100, but it can get very stiff, especially in short clubs. And so the thing I really like about soft stepping it once is I just feel like I have a little bit more feel. I can flight shots a little bit easier. When I get into like distance wedges, I don't really have to all out them to make sure I'm getting the contact that I want. I just feel a little bit more comfortable. It's tough, right? Because I talk a lot about how stuff can get too soft, but on the contrary to that, stuff can also get too stiff. So, you're really, as a player, you're trying to find that balance between something that's going to hold up, when you pull on it in transition, when you're coming through the golf ball, it's going to help you get the low point you need, but also stuff that is going to help you when you go to hit different types of golf shots. So there is a big balance in golf equipment, and that's really what I am searching to find. Searching is probably the greatest word, because I'm always trying to search for something that's a little bit better, a little bit more balanced for my game. But nonetheless, I like the shaft. The only issue you tend to run in with True Tempers, unfortunately, is the quality control can be a little bit, it can leave a little bit to be desired, I would say. There's been a decent amount of times I go to build up a set of X100s and the weights are not in the Tour issue tolerance, even though I spent the money on the Tour issue model. There was a time last year where I built a set of X100s and I built them, I used them for a little bit, and then I went to sell them, and when I looked at the shafts, the steps were all over the place. Like, in 2 of the shafts, the steps did not match the set whatsoever. And, I double check when I build sets, I double check specs, I make sure everything is right. So there was no way the shafts were not in the right heads or anything, and the step patterns were, completely wrong on 2 of the clubs. So the QC over at True Temper it can be a little bit disappointing. And so I kind of bring this point up because, that if it really came down to a Modus and an X100, I would probably choose Nippon just based on a little bit higher quality control, a little bit better processes in manufacturing. So yeah, but I like the shaft. I do like the X100 soft stepped once, but there's other things to try. And the other thing was the Modus 125S. So, I hit this thing on the range. I did like it, but the more I hit it, the more I tried it, the more to me it felt just a skosh soft, just a hair. So, the move potentially could be to hard step a 125S and see if that kind of takes away a little bit of that softness, and kind of gives me a little bit more of what I'm looking for in terms of, especially in the long clubs, especially in the 4-iron, I just don't want it to be too soft because it could get a hair knuckly, as I've kind of talked about a lot. So, again, trying to find that balance. I did really like the 125S. To me, again, it's an improvement over the DG120, over the Modus 115. Right now, I would say it's probably in 3rd place, with the X1 and the Modus 125 probably being more interchangeable for 1st and 2nd place, just depending on if I can get the stepping right, whether I have to hard step or excuse me, soft step the Moduses, or I'm gonna play them straight in, or whatever. But nonetheless, I did really like the Modus 125S. I thought that there were a lot of really solid things about it. It definitely held up pretty well to the speeds and, you know, the aggressive move and transition. But it's just like it's a skosh soft, just a skosh. Next thing, Cobra AeroJet LS. Not really a ton to be said. I kind of think I covered most of what I was trying to say throughout the course of the video, but I really like this driver. I really like this head. You know, the beautiful thing about having that CG a little bit further forward is it tends to be a little bit more fade biased. And so, you know, for me with the driver, I've talked about, you know, going to a consistent cut off the tee, push cut off the tee. And, you know, that said, I want the golf ball to always miss right. If it's gonna miss in one spot, it should always be right. Obviously, it's, you know, it's golf. You're not gonna miss every single drive right. You're gonna have that occasional miss, but having that CG a little bit further forward, in my opinion, it tends to push those misses off to the right, if anything. And so that's something I really like about the AeroJet LS. It's not the hottest feeling driver I've ever tested. To me, that's honestly probably the TSR3. I think that is, you know, that's produced some of the highest ball speeds I've ever seen, highest smash factors. It is probably one of the hottest, if not the hottest feeling driver out of the center of the face. And the AeroJet LS is not crazy hot feeling, but you can just tell it doesn't feel like it's coming off with a lot of spin, which is nice, again, for the push cut. I think it's just going to make it go further, if anything. And at some point, you know, like I've talked about, the point of having the mini driver is it's something you get in play. The point of having the bigger driver is it's something that goes just far. And hopefully you just miss it in one direction. But yeah, I really like the AeroJet LS. I think that, once again, Cobra remains a very underrated company for, quite frankly, no apparent reason. I mean, they've got some very solid staff players, and they make some very solid products. So, yeah, I don't really know why they go underrated, but we can get it on a launch monitor if you guys are curious, kind of see ball speed, maybe compare it to TSR3, Stealth 2 Plus. Comment and let me know. I would absolutely be happy to do it for you guys. But, you know, just in terms of normal testing, I did really like it. In terms of the shaft, Mitsubishi Kylie Blue 70X. Liked the shaft. I do think it is too soft in the tip section, so might go ahead and get a 70TX and see if that's any different. I did like the butt section of the shaft. To me, it felt like it held up to what I was giving it, but the tip, you know, for me, again, I say it a lot, when that tip gets too soft, gets a little behind me, I tend to catch stuff high on the face. And that's exactly what I saw. When I got the driver on the golf course, it was pretty much the same thing. I was just catching shots high in the face, which is, you know, they were centered, but they were just high in the face, which at the end of the day, I mean, you're just not, you might get the golf ball to go a decent ways because it's coming out high with no spin, but you're not maxing out ball speed, and in terms of efficiency and stuff, I think it does leave a little bit to be desired. So, you know, I think the move is going to be to go to try the Kylie Blue 70TX. I think the UB is, you know, another option. I think we're kind of down to 3 driver shafts. Actually, Fujikura is sending over a Ventus Blue 7X to try, and then which I'm very excited about. And then UB 7X, and then this Kylie Blue 70TX. I think that's kind of what we narrowed it down to. I really wanted to like the MB Plus, but it's just too soft in the tip section, and you just cannot change. You can, like, if I tip it 1.5 inches, like, yes, it will stiffen up the tip, but it will not drastically change the feel of the shaft. It will make a small change. So I don't know if it's going to be enough to really make a huge change, and so I'm sort of semi-eliminating that from playoff contention, but we'll see. You know, I say stuff like that, and then in 6 months I'll be right back to it. So, but yeah, I think we're in a good spot. I think we're down to 3 driver shafts. Really love the AeroJet LS. I think it's a fantastic driver, and I love the Volition America edition. I know I've talked about it a bunch already. I don't need to keep going on and on and on, but it looks so good. It is such a cool cause. I really can't say enough good things. If you're in the market for an AeroJet LS, I think you'd be crazy not to consider the Volition America one, because to me it honestly just simply looks better than the normal one. There's no glare at address, which is awesome. And yeah, support the country, support the United States of America. I mean, there's no greater feeling than that, in my opinion. So, and with the Ryder Cup coming up, maybe you're looking for USA gear, you want some Ryder Cup stuff, great way to support Team USA. Not an ad, not a sponsored post, genuinely just think it's a sick driver. So, just so you guys are aware. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the AeroJet LS. And now we'll get into the Spider putter lineup. Really solid release here from Taylormade. I think they took some of the greatest things of Spiders in terms of shape, in terms of that true path alignment, in terms of really refining them to make them just a little bit nicer looking, a little bit more premium looking and feeling, and pretty much just turned that into a Spider lineup. I've said it a few times, I'll say it again, 350 is, in my opinion, it's steep. It's steep for a Spider, but that said, I mean, there's a lot of expensive stuff on the market that, you know, you're probably getting less for even more money. I mean, this is a proven shape. This has been one that, like I said earlier in the video, to me is a Hall of Fame design. So yeah, the price is steep, but I think to an extent, I guess it's really all up to the consumer whether it's worth it or not. But you know, I think you get a lot for the price. I think maybe there's a few things, you know, that aren't quite there. I wish they did offer some more options in terms of like face and stuff. But as a whole, I think you're getting something pretty solid. I think it's a good release by Taylormade. I do wish it was cheaper, but what are you gonna do? I mean, people are gonna pay for it. I mean, people are gonna buy them at $350. But it is crazy to me. I mean, it's not even just Spiders. I mean, the prices of every golf club nowadays is just, ooh, man, it's getting like the wild west out here. I mean, it's unbelievable, you know. You know, we've reached the days of a $400 Spider. We've reached the days of like $65 a dozen golf balls. I mean, it's just, it's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe. And it's funny because like we've reached the days of after tax. I mean, drivers are almost $700. I mean, I remember like probably 8-10 years ago, you could get fit and get, you know, something super, I mean, just completely custom fit, premium shaft for maybe like $700 out the door, built to spec, and now it's like just stock stuff is getting up there. So it's just, it is crazy. It is crazy, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I think I really like that Tour Z shape. I think that's one of my favorites. I love the fact that they're offering a counterbalance model in the new Spider Tour putters. I think that's going to be really cool. Just to see, once again, I mean, Callaway and Taylormade just duking it out, fighting for market share. I think that that's always fun to see. But yeah, I like the putters. I really do. I think that the finish is super well done. They just feel very premium. They feel very premium. They look very premium. Yeah, there's a couple complaints maybe I have, but as a whole, I think it's a good release. I think there's a lot of positives, and you know, I think Taylormade probably could have done a lot worse, if you will. You know, there's going to be people who complain about them, of course, because that always happens, but I really do think that they definitely could have done way worse. I think it's a very solid release. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Any questions, drop comments drop a question in the comments down below. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. I always love hearing from you guys. I always love questions. I love trying to learn stuff. I love trying to figure stuff out, and you guys ask some awesome questions. And, you know, it's always fun for me to really try to, you know, that's part of what I do with this page, is I'm always just trying to learn and figure things out and understand things a little bit deeper. And sometimes, you know, just getting those thought-provoking questions is awesome. So I really appreciate them. I really appreciate the support. I've gotten so many DMs and comments just saying, you know, great work, and it really means a lot. You know, these videos, they're not the craziest hard thing to make. You know, the content on Instagram and stuff, that can be maybe a little bit more difficult, but it's not the hardest job ever. I mean, I would never claim that, but you know, there is work that is put in to make the videos, and so you know, when you guys you know, say that you appreciate them, it really it's really awesome to see and awesome to hear. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and you know, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and click the notification bell, and yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.